So it says, how did you land your first job and starting salary?
At least IITB has a pretty decently sorted out placement process. I was shortlisted in Flipkart at that time, and the starting salary was 11 CTC, but there was some 3 lakh which was supposed to come in like some chunks or something like that.
College placements, IIT Bombay, and salary was 6 lakhs per annum.
In my college, the employment rate was like 40%, and my first job was at a Series A media company, and there I was getting 12 lakh per annum.
How did you get the job?
I actually was consulting with that company. I was helping them build their system, and we actually went to IIT Bombay to recruit. I was helping them recruit, and we didn't like anyone. So then at the end of the process, he's like, hey, why don't you join? So
Sure.
he's like, okay, how much will you take? I said 24, he said I'll give 12. I'm like, I wanted 12 anyways.
So I had a very different education background. So I did my chartered accountancy. It was an early stage startup. My salary was about 6 lakhs back then.
Disadvantage of being an IITian or non-IITian?
Indian Institute of Technology, like, and then मेरे को पता नहीं HDMI कहाँ डालना है, तो it's a huge problem है वो और फिर सीधे चाचा वाचा तो सीधे यार कि ये क्या फायदा है.
For me, I think perception is that you have everything on the plate. I don't think that's true.
I don't think I've ever hit apply on a job site and had my resume shortlisted. It's always some roundabout hustle path, reach out to the founder, do some consulting for them, maybe, prove your worth to them, and then they reach out to you. But there was never like a, hey, send in your resume to this inbox and expect a response.
I think that is true, man. मतलब privilege तो पता नहीं किस level की privilege पे बैठे होंगे starting में तो like.
हाँ, but I guess it's just the start वाला ये. After that there is no ये. And again, like there is a.
But compound होते रहता है ना. You get a
Exactly.
better start.
Yeah.
If you convert your start, then the compounding is.
I've never
Yeah.
experienced being able to say that, hey, I know an alum there, let me reach out through my network, or
Yeah, that's
let me LinkedIn inbox my co-student.
Yeah.
My co-students are nowhere where I want to be. Right? How is do you think IIT is correlated with mental health? Do you think that it's a positive or a negative?
मेरा data point लेंगे तो थोड़ा skew हो जाएगा, but अगर if you basically plot that, right, IIT, non-IIT, ambition, non-ambition, मेरे हिसाब से non-IIT, non-ambition is chilled out. IIT ambition is fucked, but having fun also.
Yeah.
IIT non-ambition is also screwed up, क्योंकि फिर तुम देख रहे हो यार ये सब पता नहीं कहाँ घूम रहे हैं, क्या करना चाहते हैं लाइफ में, मेरे को तो ये सब समझ नहीं आ रहा है. And I think so. I think I would rate the toughest job being a non-IITian and being ambitious. I think then it would be sort of IIT and non-ambition, क्योंकि वो लोग थोड़ा lost होंगे लाइफ में करना क्या है इसे. And फिर तीसरा होगा I think IIT ambition, and non-IIT non-ambition you cannot beat in happiness. I believe that.
No, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I was reading a book and they had that quote and I still remember it where they said, my life would have been a lot more happier if I had a little less ambition in life, and I keep thinking about it.
तुम्हारे हर स्ट्रीम में एक दोस्त ऊपर होगा.
Yeah.
एक IAS होगा, फिर एक तुम्हारा दोस्त हार्वर्ड जाएगा.
बट द आई थिंक एडवाइस देयर इज कि अगर किसी से भी ऐसा लग रहा है तो उसको फोन कर लो, क्योंकि फिर वो रोता तो है ही. जब भी मेरे को ऐसा लगता है ना कि IAS वाले यार बहुत मचाते हैं, तो मैं अपने IAS दोस्त को फोन कर लेता हूँ. बोलता है यार कीड़े साफ कर रहा हूँ गटर से, अब तेरे को आना है तो आजा थोड़े दिन में. सो देन आई लाइक हाँ ये नहीं करना था मेरे को, दिस इज परफेक्ट. सो
Did you have self-doubt like ever in the journey?
Despite the pedigree.
हाँ, आई थिंक माई फर्स्ट सेल्फ डाउट वुड हैव कम once I had entered Flipkart. So उस टाइम तक तो ऑप्शन ही था सेल्फ डाउट का, क्योंकि सब अपने आप ही हो रहा था. तो आई थिंक once the job happened and I went in, I think that is when the stakes became equal, right? That once you get in, no one cares that you are an IITian. I got supply chain. कोई दिमाग नहीं लगाया, सीधे बैठ गए हो, जिसने बोला हाँ उस पे चले गए. When I started talking to my IITian friends only, and I started seeing their growth journeys, people in the VC space, people in the product space were just talking a different language. They were like, यार EBITDA का प्रॉब्लम है. क्या प्रॉब्लम है भाई, मैं तो इधर रोज सुबह से शाम ट्रक लगा रहा हूँ, पता नहीं तुम लोग क्या EBITDA की बातें कर रहे हैं. EBITDA man. So and I think, and then I was chasing. I was like यार ये आदमी जब बात करता है तो लगता है सेंसिबल है, ऐसा टाइप का रोल ले लेता हूँ या ये कर लेता हूँ. So then a lot of confusion, and then थोड़ा सा लक था कि Flipkart was looking for a product role in supply chain, and I had a 3 years का operational experience in supply chain, so they were like we could give it a shot. उसके बाद the self doubt became a lot lesser, because then product gave me the ownership.
Advantages of being an IITian versus non-IITian.
One friend who was into corp dev, second friend who was talking about yeah, I want to do something in music tech, and another friend has already switched from something to computer science and all of that. So I think when you have such a peer group, I think you are never allowed to be complacent, and that is a big advantage of being in such a peer group. So I think
If
peer
I may
group strikes to
interrupt,
me.
that peer group can also be a disadvantage, I feel, because everyone tends to compare to their local maxima. So my local maxima is doing, the jobs that I didn't want to do. In your case, your peer group may go on to start billion-dollar companies. Like no one here is going to compare themselves to Elon Musk and feel bad, because that's not our local group.
Correct.
But in your case, your group may actually do really well.
Right.
And at every step you're comparing, they became a Series C founder. Now what am I doing with my life?
But then it works, I think. You constantly push to do better, right? Versus our local maxima.
The lack of a peer group telling me what is possible also kind of expanded my ambition, saying that anything is possible.
Yeah.
And I feel like that also plays into the confidence that you have. Every small win feels bigger because to your peer group it's bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a different sort of question. Where do you invest? So they're talking about portfolio allocation. And I think I and Ashwin used to have a lot of conversations on investment. I think he's the one who made me invest in Vint also the first time around.
I don't invest.
You don't invest? Like
At all.
money under the carpet,
Savings account.
savings, FD.
Yeah, not FD.
Not even FD, savings account. Like,
Yeah, and worst savings account also. I have been told ki there are some banks which give you more if you are in savings also. And I'm like, oh, they're like IDFC mein account kyun nahi?
what I'm best at is passive investing. I just want to buy and hold, nothing else. I'm not good at picking stocks.
I recently took control of all this, right, while I was getting on my sabbatical. So I don't know, everyone would not sort of agree with me, but I don't believe in real estate. I believe in assets which are slightly liquid, which keep sort of growing and majorly also having more of tech, right? So
Oh, I have this Excel sheet where I have all my individual assets tracked in real time. So every day I wake up in the morning, I know
I've seen this one.
how they are doing.
Money goals / plans for retirement.
Do you before that? Do you actually have a view of your net worth right now? You said that.
Yeah, I UPI में एक feature है check balance. So I can
but does that
All his money is in bank.
money goals. I sort of always envy like what Ratan Tata or these people, philanthropists are able to do in this world once they've gotten to it. And तो कभी-कभी मेरे को लगता है कि while the pursuit of fun does not really need a very massive money goal, but the pursuit of impact maybe require me to, money not only sorted, like money.
I do agree with that point of impact, right? Like for me, it's like I defined myself as 40 years, till 40 years I'm a capitalist. After 40 years, I'll define whether I want to become a socialist, right? Like when I have enough money.
Again, like I think the money that I wanted is only for psychological safety. I don't think now that you say, oh, impact ke liye paise chahiye, I've honestly never thought of that, but it also comes from the fact that impact doesn't always come from money, right?
But even in the day-to-day, I feel like just having psychological safety lets you place that Swiggy order without a discount coupon. And I think that is also a privilege that
100%.
I've become accustomed to.
100%.
Nikita has been trying to convince me to become an entrepreneur. And then I look at my monthly expenses and my credit card bill, and I'm like, I don't know if I can continue that lifestyle on an entrepreneur's salary. And I like that lifestyle.
Somehow there is this constant now feeling of not needing to be accountable to anyone. I'm always questioning, am I working because I really like this, or am I working for my boss? At all points of time, right? And मेरे को जब भी वो सवाल आता है मैं बहुत I am very uncomfortable with myself कि यार if I am doing this just because someone else will screw me up if I don't do this.
Expectations from your child.
At least for me, जिसके भी ambitions sports के हैं अपने बच्चों से, I think those are just unfulfilled ambitions of themselves. For example, I also for the longest time thought कि I'll name my kid Ronaldo, so that it is very clear to him what I want out of him. कि कहीं उसको doubt नहीं आना चाहिए कि यार पापा चाहते क्या है मेरे से. तो
Would you send your kid to an IIT, or would you want more or less, or you would not care?
I think ये अच्छा है यार. ये मेरे हिसाब से the answer has to come from my experience with the kid. मतलब it's just impossible to say it right now. मतलब But I think the answer will come. I am looking at that guy daily for 14-15 years. तो कुछ तो inkling समझ आ जाएगा कि यार इसको थोड़ा सा guide कर देते हैं या इसको छोड़ देते हैं अब तो मतलब whatever. So.
But that presumes that a lot depends on nature and not as much on nurture, which is the values you imbibe.
No, I think at least logically it feels कि nurturing तो will be 360, right? As in, and then if there are spikes in a certain direction कि यार ये तो कुछ hand eye coordination ज़्यादा अच्छा लग रहा है तो फिर बाकी सब बंद करा दूंगा मैं कि भाई अब क्रिकेट खेलते हैं और क्या है मतलब. But if it feels like it is somewhere else or something.
Many of my friends around would say this, नहीं IIT तो नहीं भेजूंगा. Because sort of they have seen this as more like a rat race to sort of get somewhere, right? I don't 100% agree with that. So again, like I would just agree with his answer.
I actually over-index a lot on nurture, and there was a Polish researcher named Polgar. He had 3 daughters, and in order to prove his hypothesis that nurture is the only real thing that matters,
guy, right?
He made all his 3 daughters become chess grandmasters. And he wanted to prove that it's not something that you're born with, that I was supposed to be grandmaster. He did it 3 out of 3, right? And he's like, his point was that if you wanted your child to be a grandmaster, you should have trained them like
and
that.
That's why I think what he should have done is he should have not nurtured one at all.
देखो
इसका तो कट गया भाई. So hence proved कि my nurture has led to this beautiful life that she has. Right?
Yeah.
हाँ मतलब basically you have to not nurture one ना. तीनों को nurture कर दिया मतलब देखो nurture हो सकता है nature था. Like even someone else would have made them grandmasters.
Yeah, I think my hypothesis is that whatever they do, they have to be the best in the world, or at least they have to aim for it. And for that, they may need ingredients and resources.
And what is in our control? Nurture is the only thing in our control. Nature तो क्या करोगे यार अब मतलब वो तो the machine तो लेकर आए हैं अब मतलब basically if someone was wanting to become a footballer right now, I would be like be very very sure of your skill. I understand you love it, but अगर तुम ISL नहीं पहुंचे तो पैसा है ही नहीं. इधर बेसिकली फिर मैं तुम्हारी हॉबी फंड कर रहा हूँ कि भाई तुम्हारा 80,000 मैं डालता हूँ अकाउंट में ताकि तुम्हारी नीड सॉर्टेड है और फिर तुम अपना फुटबॉल खेल रहे हो. बट वो भी 35 तक चलेगा फिर तुम्हारी फिजिकल बॉडी भी हाथ वो दे देगी फिर तुम क्या करोगे मतलब. एंड आई थिंक लाइक रणजी लेवल पे उसके नीचे लेवल पर भी पैसा है कि भाई अब 50,000 60,000 रुपये वो I think your normal domestic player is also easily earning. So then there is some security, but फुटबॉल में नहीं है वो. ISL 8 क्लब्स उसके नीचे सीधा 20,000 25,000 और उसके नीचे तो यू फंड योर ओन सेल्फ. तो कब तक तुम ऐसी हॉबीज अलाउ करोगे एंड व्हेन डू यू बेसिकली कट इट, पुल द प्लग एंड से भाई अब नहीं कर रहे हैं ये, लेट्स डू समथिंग एल्स.
Maybe not disagree, but I'd want to have enough money for my kid कि यार वो फेल हो गया तो
हाँ भाई I think that's what maybe I'm thinking कि शायद 80 मेरे को डालने हैं तो फिर मेरे को डालने हैं.
हाँ मतलब ठीक है नहीं फेल हुआ तो यार तेरे पास you have enough purpose to like keep experimenting with different things.
नहीं तो फुटबॉल क्लब खरीदो उससे.
I think हाँ मतलब just adding to that it's also about उतना space रहे to give that access रहे. I feel if I have to compare it across all the strata, it's just access, right? Access to information which someone XYZ would not have, right?
Do you have a bias for pedigree when hiring for your teams?
Why should you not?
While at Meesho, I think to some extent it was there. When you have 500 CVs to look from, which is when you're at such a large company, I think that bias to some extent was there. वो HR में भी bias होता था, वो खुद ही तुम्हें filter करके IIT bits वाले CV देंगे when you're hiring for certain roles. Once they interview, I don't think there was a bias in pedigree. Then it was all about, hey, how well did you do in an interview? Do you have the right skills? Are you a right fit for the role? Culture fit है कि नहीं?
It's a heuristic, no? It's a shortcut. Like if I want to quickly look at a resume for 10 seconds and say yes or no, having an IIT, NIT, IIM something just checks the box. And no one ever got fired for hiring an IIT person. Saying that, oh, I mean, there must have been something that went wrong, but it wasn't because of the resume screening. But if you take a chance on someone who's unexpected, like a quirky CV, you are a little bit putting your name on the line that I want to take a bet on this person.
Yeah.
It's diamond in the rough.